Let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Inside Star Citizen Review. And happy 4th of July to everyone out there. Even if you're not in the States, just congratulate the Americans, if you will, for their independence. We're independent. We're strong. We're unified. God damn it, we're not worried. Everything's fine here. Everything's fine, damn it. Leave us alone. Everything's fine. But seriously though, happy 4th to everybody. Drop all the red versus blue, the Trump versus Biden shit, and just remember our roots. Remember, we all want freedom of choice. We all like independence. You know, we don't like when people tell us what to do. So happy 4th. Shoot off a lot of explosives. I mean, that is the way Americans truly celebrate. For people that are over the pond or from different countries, I think they know that about us as well. We like to shoot off colorful explosives as celebration, as a celebratory thing. Let us do this. Okay, just let us do this. Let us get it out of our system. All right. I'm very happy you're here to join me, everybody. Thank you for joining me live. I'm very excited because I'm looking down below and I'm seeing views just rolling in on this Inside Star Citizen because the title, do my eyes deceive me? Do my eyes doth deceive me? Does it say something about server meshing?
Yes, you're gonna hit me. Yes.
Ooh, okay. And a 23-minute episode at that. What is going on here?
The Core Technology Group. Bunch of big brains found in all 5 of our studios. These are the folks that have been working to expand Star Citizen beyond the limitations of the traditional client-server model.
No,
to distribute what would have been the work of a single server across many. This work has many parts, but the collective name for all the technologies that allow this to happen, we call simply server meshing.
Yes.
Beginning late last year, the newly created Tech Preview channel was used for a series of tests. And while the work of server meshing is that of our entire development staff, toiling in concert with the Core Technology Group, we asked members of the small...
All of which are looking like shit. Like every single member in there is looking like shit. How do we do this? Shit. Like every single person in there. I was like, look at the faces, man. Just like shit. We got to get this working. Shit. It's a lot of shits. Apologies. It is the 4th of July though. I'm just very happy. I say shit a lot when I'm happy.
But dedicated UK networking team to speak on their behalf. This is Dev Diary Server Meshing.
Here we go. Give me data metrics, give me analytics, stat, everything.
Yeah, that was a nerve-wracking one for us because it was the first time, going out public with such a big fundamental change for how we run the game.
Replication layer network code split out from the dedicated game server, running in its own service we call the hybrid service.
So these tests are not just for us in Cortec. These are also for the game side as well, so they can actually see their systems functioning along with server meshing as kind of one cohesive whole.
So that was the first time trying to deploy that kind of environment, which is radically different from what we've had to do before. One of the major purposes of Tech Preview is to expose the game to a much wider audience so that the rest of the development team can see more of their work exposed, really help us pick up on all the little corner and edge cases that we don't necessarily spot if we only have a handful of people testing.
So it's really good to, have other development teams look at the tech from, a development perspective and on a live environment as well.
In Alpha 3.18, we introduced the replication layer, our first major milestone towards server meshing. It offloaded the entire state of the universe, things like characters, ships, weapons, and more, away from the game server, which we call the DGS. It wasn't the smoothest process, but the work of splitting the replication layer to be shared between the client and EGS into a new hybrid service still needed to be done. as was testing of a brand new server crash recovery system that was long overdue. These would be the focus of our first 2 tech preview tests, and everyone was excited to learn everything we could with help from the community.
Basically, we learned that it worked.
This feels like it should be its own television drama, like series. Like I would watch this every single night. If it was an episodic series on Amazon Prime, I'd be watching this probably every single goddamn night.
Surprisingly well for us.
Yeah, it was great.
And you got to cut the weakest link. You know, you got to like vote. You got to call in to vote on the one that you want to cut, man. This is the show. This is the new show.
Yeah, good job. It works.
We learned that, the technology was working kind of as we expected. It was like surprising how well it actually worked.
For the backers, the major change that they would have observed through these tests was the improvement for server crash recovery. So the first outing with server crash recovery, we were talking 25, 30-minute recovery times, frequent crashes all over the place.
It's almost like we're pulling the tablecloth out from underneath everybody at once. So it requires people to make some interesting considerations and
Oh, we're used to that. Don't worry about that, buddy.
shimmy that tablecloth back underneath with the new server.
So if the server crashes, the game state still survives. We can spin up another server, and when it connects again, the new server connects again.
Right.
It can get all the game state back, and clients can continue on their merry way.
That's happening
Basically
now.
server meshing for game code all at once in like one big giant transition.
But I think by the time we were getting to this, second and third tests, we're starting to see things dramatically quicker and dramatically more reliable.
Yeah, I think I was probably expecting it to explode. Yeah, pretty hard.
David Kaplan's like, I was not expecting this shit to work at all. So he's happy.
But we were surprised that the game code worked as well as it did without needing changes.
I like the realness.
Backers have a way of finding and breaking things. So having a good few hours testing in backers' hands in a more or less real-world environment was incredibly valuable.
Of course, this is still game development. And these were tests, not just for the core technology group, but for every other dev team to see just how much work they still had ahead of them. Work that continues today, adapting all of Star Citizen's various game systems to the realities of server meshing.
We found that there were some gameplay systems that weren't quite ready for server crash recovery, that could cause some issues when a server crashes and one takes its place. So that kind of allowed us to kind of create a bunch of bugs and send them out to various gameplay teams.
What's cyclical crashing?
Basically, when the server then tries to recover, start back up, it would then
reboots and it just goes
deserialize
right
the
back,
state that we had stored previously, and the state itself was corrupt, so it would just crash, and it would just keep trying. Pretty annoying. A lot of people were like, let's turn off server crash recovery, that's the problem, when actually, no, it wasn't the problem. It was just the state it was in. When it is working, it works very well.
Star Citizen is a large, complex game. Every little bit of it across core tech and the actual game system has to function perfectly.
I like Hazard. What's up, Hazard? First time chatter. Great first comment here. Hazard says, comparing these guys with the weapons content team, you instantly notice which group is having a good time and which one is contemplating quitting their job the next day. For real, dude. For real. Absolutely, Hazard. Welcome, buddy. Welcome.
For server meshing to work. The test allowed us to point to parts of the code where things didn't function, so we could go back to the game teams and say, you need to go back and you need to rework this particular system.
Being able to allow the replication layer to kind of soak is kind of how we were able to get it from basically having things work for the first time to a production-ready product.
Making sure that we were in a good state so that we could progress with the next set of tech preview tests.
It had worked twice now?
Yes, the overconfidence was starting to grow, yes.
With 2 successful trials in the can, the team broke for the holidays, returning in January with more tests, more fixes, more bugs to discover, and even improvements to the very manner in which we collected and analyzed data itself.
And remember that they were talking about this at CitizenCon, and that they said that they would do this starting the beginning of the year, going from 23 to 24. So interesting.
At this
I want
point
to hear
now,
some more
it's
results.
not only about just getting server crash recovery working, but we're really starting to see changes come in from the game teams for the various systems that interact with it. So from those early tests, people would have seen, you know, a loss of state for certain systems or things that just didn't recover well. If you ended up in, you know, a weird condition where, let's just say you were in the middle of respawning during a server crash.
But this is when we were noticing, you know, a lot of, you know, major spikes, and, you know, a player tries to interact with a door or a ship or tries to pick up something, and, you know, they could be waiting several minutes for something to actually happen. But then it was also other game code as well. Other teams, you know, send in sort of like serialized variables and messages across the network. Some of them were like being sent twice, which obviously.
It's also the sheer amount of data due to the persistence. You know, like, because we want everything in this game down to the smallest object container to exist, you're adding a huge amount of data. And, you know, I noticed this too, and I don't know if you guys noticed while playing this, is like, you know, for instance, like on smaller objects like consumables, I'll buy like a water bottle, I'll drink the water bottle, and I'll set it down, say, on Microtech, right, and New Babbage, and I'll set it down on the table, right, and I'll play the game for an hour or two. Maybe I'll land at Area 18 on ArcCorp, and I'll log out, right, and then when I come back into ArcCorp, I notice that there's a water bottle. But it's interesting. I never put the water bottle in ArcCorp, but the water bottle is in a different position and it's down on the floor. I don't know if you guys have been noticing this as well on, you know, like I'm just kind of doing like little things to see what's happening. And I don't know if that's a data transfer issue, or I'm not quite sure exactly why the server is bringing the water bottle back up at ArcCorp since I set the bottle down in New Babbage. But these are small things that I notice along the way where I just kind of like do these quirky little tests myself to kind of figure out what the fuck's going on. But it sounds like there's a lot of object containers out there. It sounds like they're dealing with the fact that there's a lot of data. And persistence has a role to play in this, and the amount of data that's there. The servers are trying to get through all the data, man.
So it's not ideal, because if we're sending messages twice, we only need to send it once. Then we've got two messages being sent, which is,
it's happening on a few different items in different areas.
Get busier a lot quicker. So between now and then, you know, data, analytics, metrics, making sure that the development team have the information that they need when they request it as well, and having our back-end dashboard set up so information is correct and not incorrect, because we don't want to provide incorrect results.
We're starting to see fixes for those kind of strange cases start to come in. So the overall experience at this point now would have been much more solid.
Also, I like that Manstyle saying production value went up a level for this. Feels like I'm watching a docuseries on TV. It does. Like, I like the cuts here. I like the real world kind of outside cuts going into. I like the music they're using. Like, it's a lot better than it was. I hope they do go back to the set. I like the set as well. You know, for the Inside Star System. I know they're still doing them on Star Citizen Live, but I'd like a little bit more of that also back in the Inside Star System. But I love what they're doing so far.
At this point, after a series of necessary wins and a reconfiguration of our analytics dashboard, with clients and servers now both connecting to the hybrid service, ready to put an end to the DGS crashes causing players to get disconnected, it was time to move to the next major milestone: testing configurations of multiple DGSs connected to the same hybrid service, or put simply, our first true server mesh.
The next milestone in our tech preview testing was February 29th, which was the first time that we attempted to have two solar systems running on two DGSs connected to the same hybrid service, and clients basically able to connect through them, choose which solar system they wanted to play in, and go and play.
So this one was the big surprise. So we were really excited to finally get multiple DGSs and multiple solar systems out there into the hands of the backers for testing. And also this was a huge milestone for the platform teams, because it's their first time having to deploy a full-on server mesh with multiple DGSs
and we were all
out to our live environment. That was a super exciting test.
We still had the single hybrid, which for us, having a single hybrid manage the state of multiple servers was a huge, huge milestone. And with those, there may have been some bugs, some interestingness. Being able to see crash recovery actually
Lot of
occur
data.
and then succeed on the Pyro server really proved to us that we're kind of getting to that kind of milestone point.
We had tried it internally first, but yeah, with the tech previews, it tends to be pretty hot. What you see is the build that we've created the day before. It's kind of a bit of a wing and a prayer to hope that it is actually going to work. We got a lot of data about our performance, and it all seems to be holding up pretty well.
You keep saying surprisingly well. Were you expecting this to just fall on its face?
Yes, I've been working in games a long time, and for things to work first time is very unusual. So yeah, I was fully expecting something to explode and for us to have to patch something up.
There's a little bit of anxiety, I feel, with the teams that we never tried anything quite like this before, and the tech might not actually cope with it, and then we might have to cancel the test. Things, thankfully, went really, really, really well. Generally speaking, when we tested server meshing stuff out, it tended to behave better than people expected at the time. So yeah, we've kind of gotten lucky with some of this stuff.
However,
seems like very genuine reactions too. This is actually very positive to see the team react in this way.
As awesome as it was to finally see 2 star systems running on the same DGS, there was still one last-minute disappointment for every member of the team.
Unfortunately, we had a last-minute issue with the jump points. That meant they weren't quite going to make it for that test.
Originally, we were trying to make it so that the jump gates were functional, and you could have done solar system transitions via the jump gates. We didn't manage to make that in time.
I remember being very upset that jump points decided not to work at the last minute. But there was an issue with the jump points where if someone used it, the radius to pull in people from the server to go to Pyro was essentially the size of the universe. So if you used the jump point, everyone in Stanton was going to Pyro whether they wanted to or not.
And so you had so how did you enforce people not using it?
I don't actually remember. I think we just said, no, don't.
And the people behaved?
If I remember, only one person tried it and it broke, so nothing happened, which, very lucky.
Sorry about that.
And then, only a week later, on March 7th, the first successful test of a jump point assisted server transition occurred.
For us in the UK, the tech preview releases tend to go out like 11 midnight kind of time. And I stayed up and hopped on to kind of give it a look, and the excitement that we had from being able to like actually see us, like thousands of players in a queue, jump through the jump points, and for things to work with minimal issues is a very exciting time for us.
I sat by the Pyro jump gate, watching the first backers come through from Stanton. Myself, a whole bunch of the team were online watching that happen. Amazing to see it, kind of culmination of years of work by dozens of teams and hundreds of people.
I remember being really happy because everyone was thrilled. All the backers were really thrilled that they actually saw it themselves. I remember the players going through the gate and smashing into each other on the other side. They would just come out of the gate and somebody would be parked there from having just come through, and they would crash into each other. They would spin out. It was really funny.
Yeah, it was pretty great having people actually be able to do it, something they'd been waiting for God knows how long.
Seeing people actually use the jump gates for the first time, that was like really exciting. That I think brought home to the community at large that this was actually server meshing, that we're actually doing the real tech here, and it actually works. And yeah, we knew it all along, but yeah, it told everybody else that yeah, we're doing the real deal here.
Yeah, I knew it would.
Oh, you knew it would work?
In that run-up, we tested nothing but the jump gates, because that was our focus, so.
QA is so cynical that if they say it works,
it's gonna work,
you can believe
yeah.
Right.
It's gonna work.
Good QA department.
And with these first successful tests now having proven out the project's ability to simultaneously operate 2 star systems across 2 DGSs on a single shard, the time was fast approaching to test the other core functionality of server meshing technology: the subdivision of an entire star system across multiple servers.
We've done the jump gates, so we focused on just having the Stanton system again, but this time we split the Stanton system between multiple DGSs.
It's super exciting now to finally deliver on what I think a lot of people's vision of server meshing is, which is a single solar system being divided into multiple areas that are all being managed by multiple DGSs.
Which will scale in size according to the population in the given areas, which is why that's so fascinating. It's a dynamic system that will change basically size structure on the amount of population in certain areas so that it can dedicate maximum amount of data needed for the maximum amount of population, which I don't think people get, which is why dynamic server meshing is so goddamn important and revolutionary. And a lot of people downplay it like, oh, this has been done before in so many games. Oh, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Nothing special about this. Yeah, it's actually quite special. And if they pull this off, and they have essentially at its base form pulled it off. They just got to tailor this shit. They need a shit ton more data. They absolutely do.
We're once again really, really nervous about how this is going to work. The subdivision of Stanton up into multiple servers is technically a risky thing to do.
So the way that we did that is we kind of carved up the Stanton solar system into what we call territories, and then we'd assign those territories to different numbers of DGSs. And while we were doing that, we also tried increasing the player cap. We tried 2 DGSs, 200 players, 3 DGSs, 400 players, 4 DGSs, 400 players, and then we just decided to go a bit nuts, and we tried 6 DGSs and 800 players. And that was really to stress the system, test server crash recovery, and kind of, get all the performance information about how the hybrid service is able to handle these higher numbers of DGSs and higher numbers of players.
And seeing 800 players in a shard and seeing the screenshots on Reddit, very, very exciting to see that what we had made was capable of that, though there's certainly improvements to be made.
We actually exposed a bug during that one where you would drop out of quantum travel right at the transition point.
When someone would transition across that border, they would just vanish. So yeah, it made it very obvious where the borders are.
All the backers were like, oh, we know where the server boundaries are.
That was accidental, but it provided us a fantastic testing opportunity because people could really hammer all sorts of crazy conditions at the boundary to see, shooting other ships across the boundary and all throwing cargo boxes across and watching it all largely work.
Shooting across it, EVAing across it, lots of testing that we weren't really expecting to get out of that actually happened. And for the most part, it held up really well.
Good. This is additional testing to what we've already seen that they have done behind the scenes at CitizenCon. So this is additional testing actually in the live instanced PU. So that's
configuration of star systems broken up into multiple territories, each containing one or more parts of the playable space like a planet or moon, distributed between whichever number of DGSs are available, and spreading the simulation workload across all the DGSs in the mesh. Is what will one day allow us to seamlessly move or transition players throughout the galaxy without immersion-breaking loading screens. But with this first series of tests now completed, it was time to step back and ready the replication layer split and server crash recovery for Alpha 3.23.
I watch a lot of streamers and videos, and everyone was really, really happy. And that makes me happy. That makes me motivated to do my job.
When the RL split went out in 3.23, we didn't see too many problems, and things seem to be working very, very well. And I believe that's largely can be attributed to the amount of testing that we've done, kind of leading up with the backers and with the public.
When General QA was testing it, when they first got their eyes on it, you could hear a pin drop when they were testing it. It was so quiet. People were so worried about it. And then when the test was over, they were floored, essentially. They didn't realize that tech had already been put into the game, and it was actually pretty incredible that it worked so well.
The server recovery stuff was always something we have to get in.
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. It's not like it's working so well. I mean, there's let's scale it back just a touch here. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done
to make the whole thing work. The crash recovery stuff required a lot of work on the game team side of things just to make sure that their systems is compatible so that when we do have the crash recovery, their systems will recover along with the actual server.
It's a testament to our approach to all of this with Tech Preview, with getting all of this out into the hands of the backers super early, it's given us an environment and a place to mature this tech. So at the time that we came around to delivering it for real in the live release with 3.23, we had really good confidence that it was going to work, that it was going to be a good experience, and I think for the large part that's been true.
With Alpha 3.23 now out, there's still work to be done, and a new series of trials have already begun by the time this episode airs.
Between now and 4.0, we've got a lot of work
Trip.
to do, both on the tech side of things within Core Tech Group, with the teams who are actually working on server meshing. There's a lot of work to do on the game side of things. We've got to work with the game teams very, very closely. Pretty much
Biggest understatement of the year.
every system in the whole game is affected by server meshing to some extent.
More tech previews in the lead up to 4.0. That should help us harden like some subdivision, multi-system split, and kind of see where we can kind of push things.
Every time they bump up the test, like more and more people, I'm just like, oh, now they're gonna find more stuff that we don't know about. Oh no.
And I've actually seen this while PvPing, seeing missile fire. Just you can see actually, like, you know, I targeted a friend of mine, and I noticed the missiles were heading there and just went whoosh, you know, just went bonkers to the right, you know. So like you can kind of, like, in the game you can actually feel where these invisible borders are, you know. You see like things passing through and the data gets skewed, and you know, so there definitely needs some type of work. The work continually is going to happen, and it's going to continue. It's just going to be messy for a while, and it will get better and better and better over time. This is what we're used to, though. This is what we're used to with the development. This is everything gets introduced. It's always messy at the very beginning, and they keep on working on it, massaging it over and over again. You know, like, it was interesting to hear on the last week's episode how much, was it last week's or the weeks before, about level design, and how much the level designers were like, oh man, when one change happens, we have to basically change everything that we've coded. And you know, like, they were almost as miserable as some of this team.
There's more work coming.
My team's also improving tooling as well, making sure the health of the content is and the world we're building is the best it can be.
Ultimately, these steps between now and Alpha 4.0 and the continuing work beyond are only made possible by the support of fellow developer and tech preview tester alike. And it's these efforts that keep the teams moving forward towards these difficult but attainable milestones.
Has there ever been a point in the last 5 years where you lost faith?
No.
Really?
No, yeah, no. I mean, there have been some, it's been a bit rocky at times, but I never lost faith because I believe in the tech.
I don't think we could have done this anywhere else. Nowhere else would have the patience to really develop this kind of tech on the promise of something that might happen.
I don't think there is another game company on the planet.
They're repeating everything I've said. They're taking talking points I've been talking about for a week and a half, 2, 3, 4 weeks. There's no other game developer out there doing this. You notice what's happening here. Like, you notice what's being focused on. Do you notice what's being focused on? Isn't it interesting? It's almost like Chris watches this in bed with Sandy. It's almost like at nighttime. Chris is like, okay, let's see what DG's talking about now, and let's make sure that when we're doing content, we're focusing on the very things that DG's saying. It's exactly what I'm talking about. There is no other gaming company that's trying to do this on this scale and trying to create this type of tech. It's totally revolutionary. If they do it, they're going to make a shit ton of fucking money off of this. They can license this. They can do whatever they want. This is a big factor onto how they make even more revenue. So when people ask, like, oh, you know, what are they going to do after the game's released? How are they going to continue this revenue? And I still secretly think they're going to sell ships. You know, they probably will, even though Chris said he wouldn't. But I would say that this is going to be like the licensing of this tech on dynamic server mesh, man. They're going to have the rights on this. They're going to have some type of a monopoly on this tech, and they'll license it out, and they'll make a shit ton of money. If they can do it. If they can streamline this and make it work to the point where it's something that can be licensed out, holy God, this is going to be like a revenue boost you cannot believe. This will make the ship sales look like nothing. This, if they do this and they can license it out, make money off of it, will make ship sales look like a drop in a bucket. That's how big that this would be, right? So it makes sense that this is the focus. This is the top of the pyramid. This is it. This is that important piece, man. Like, they need to do this. If they don't get this down and they don't get it to the point where the game it can have tons of players having these same experiences and having these fleet battles, if they can't do it and they can't do it and make it smooth, then the sandbox, the MMO, the PU, as we want it to be, won't be, and that will totally blow this project up in terms of the MMO experience in the sandbox. Don't get me wrong. There will still be, you know, even if they don't do this, there'll be some semblance of an MMO, but it won't be what's been promised, right? So that's why this is so very important. This is so very important.
Planet that can.
I just find it interesting that the talking points now are like nobody else is doing this. I've been saying this for a month now. No one else is doing this on the scale. No other developer is doing it on the scale. Somebody gave me an answer. Somebody gave me a developer I'm gonna look into. Actually, somebody commented on that video, on one of the videos I said that in, and I think it was like Fleet Yard, something Fleet Yard Studios or something of that nature. I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna see if it's on the scale of what Star Citizen it wants to be.
And do what we're doing. We can take risks to produce amazing technologies that other game companies simply can't take. I'm pretty convinced that this couldn't be done anywhere else.
Might sound like we're really confident with how well Tech Preview has been going, because we are, but we're honestly amazed at how smoothly a lot of this has gone. Always room for improvement, of course, and there's always things that we wish had gone better. But by and large, we're really impressed with the maturity of the tech so early on. How well it performed under really heavy load in a real environment.
This is an incredibly exciting time for me. I personally have been working on this for almost 10 years. All the little bits and pieces that we've been doing have all been leading up to this.
Respect to the Commodore 64.
Fantastic, and actually seeing a lot of it all come together, and you know, the jigsaw puzzle's virtually complete now. There's just the last few pieces to put in. It's just been amazing to actually see all this work, all this effort that we've put in actually come together, and to be able to put it in the hands of our backers and, you know, get their feedback and, you know, have them experience what this could mean for the game. It's amazing.
Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 will be the first time a server mesh consisting of multiple DGSs with many territories and even multiple star systems makes its way to the live game environment. This represents an enormous step forward towards our goal of making Star Citizen into a massive, seamless, persistent universe. After 4.0, we'll continue to push this first version of server meshing, gradually increasing the number of DGSs within the mesh and the number of players this technology can immediately support.
All right.
But to fully unlock the potential of the work being done, beyond that, we'll pursue dynamic server meshing, where the distribution of players and entities that get streamed in on the DGSs are managed according to server load.
Which will be huge and will streamline the whole process and make it smoother if it works. That's when it gets real huge.
All in all, the journey to server meshing started nearly 10 years ago and will continue to evolve beyond its debut in this year's Alpha 4.0. And we invite you to continue following along with this progress in the Tech Preview channel, where you can help to ensure the best possible future for its development, as well as keep folks like the UK Network team, just one of the many groups dedicated to bringing this technology to life, energized and empowered to make this dream a reality. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Yeah, that's the game man style. Well, thank you for joining me on the 4th, everyone here live, and thank you on YouTube for joining me as well. Whatever day or time it is, please press the like button, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this. If you like a good group here, check out the Discord link in the description. Join us and add to the discussion here on the live show as well. And also your comments down in the YouTube section. I always read all the comments down there and love to discuss with people the development. So there's a lot of people, you know, as you see in our chat, that are just like very skeptical, and there's other people that aren't, and it's a great mix of people, very open-minded people, and all very respectful. The cool thing is we all have differences of opinion in here. We don't want an echo chamber like a lot of other channels, and I'm completely fine as long as you keep it civil and you're fucking adults, right? Right. All right, everyone, have a happy 4th, and we're getting to our party mode, so let's get